Thanks, Chirag, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm Kiran Muthal. I'm a management consultant working at EY, based out of Amsterdam. I primarily focus on financial risk services. So I do financial crime, conduct, and compliance. And as banks are using AI into their financial risk management, I also focus on AI model risk management. That involves developing responsible AI models and also developing governance for the models. Apart from that, I also sit on a board for one of the startup coming out of TU Delft, which is the top research university in Netherlands. We are doing a lot of emerging technologies. I am a research guest researcher at University of Leiden, and I'm also on the professional members association for the anti-money laundering specialist for the Dutch chapter. So when I look at the financial services, majority of AI application is into risk management. When I look from the AI perspective, it's doing predominantly three things. First is predictive analytics. Second, doing some simulations and extrapolating, giving you results. And third is automation. Now, these things are applied in risk management, making the right investment decisions, and also enhancing the customer experience. So when I talk about risk management, banks are using AI to analyze the large data sets relating to financial crime, credit risk, market risk, everything, because you want to look into number of transactions, market reference data, the customer profiling, the data coming in from outside, and then develop the pattern and identify what is the outlier to detect a fraud or the market risk. Second, so that is more on the risk management, but also on the revenue generation. So investment decision making, in which stock you should be investing, which security you should be buying at what time. So that is also decided based on the AI models. AI models look into the historical price of a security. They look into what are the different attributes of that security. So what is the PE value? What is the volatility? What is the traded volume against the daily volume, the market news? And then based on that, they use the sentiment analysis for the market news. They do a lot of macro and micro level analysis, and combine these quantitative analytics with the sentiment analysis to predict what can be the security price based on company news, based on the market news. And that gives you a clear information on which security you should be investing at what time. That is also, AI models are also used to do the actual trading. So when you want to do the high-speed trading at a microsecond, millisecond time to make the investment decision, AI models are also used for that. And third thing, which is more on the customer experience enhancement. So when I look at Chirag, Chirag is traveling at 10 different locations and watching few movies, buying certain specific type of outfit. So that gives me a lot of data points about Chirag, and a bank wants to predict what Chirag is going to do in next 6 months. That helps them to enhance the customer experience. So you don't get the fraud alerts. You will get suggestions based on what you're looking for. It will also adjust your risk level based on predicted analysis or predictions that are based on your customers. So that is one of the things that banks are using. One other prime example is chatbot. When you talk to bank, when you send a message, it's not always a live agent that is sitting next to you replying you. So you don't have to wait for someone coming live. It can be 24 hours. So chatbot is another nice example. And last thing I would say is regulatory domain. For any fraud, financial crime, credit risk, when alerts are generated, these alerts can be investigated easily using AI. So robotics process automation is used for alert investigation. That looks into an alert, that looks into 100 different parameters. So that looks into vision processing. So if you put an address, that looks into, if that address really exists, it will check that address on Google Map. It will check, what is that address? Is it really an office location? Is it a commercial location, residential location? Do some vision analysis, provide that input to the alert, and give you the answer. So that is the last thing banks are using AI models for. AI application is increasing in the bank. Last thing I would say, banks are using AI. Now it's going to be exponentially increasing everywhere. But what banks are doing, banks are categorizing their AI models into different risk level: high risk, medium risk, low risk. And based on their risk level, bank will be performing the governance across these AI models. when I look at AI application is horizontal across the banks. Hmm. It will be used when you enter the bank to open an account till you are offboarded because of doing some wrong thing, which is a risk mitigation. And when it horizontal, it has only two major challenges. First challenge is how you develop a responsible and ethical AI model. So there are regulations which looks into fairness and inclusion in the financial system. Banks shouldn't be discriminating against anyone on based on where they come from, what is their education, their gender, their sexual preferences, their ethnicity, anything, right? But there were few examples at really big banks when two-person applied, one male, one female, and for a credit card, and the outcome was different. So these things are happening, and to avoid this, governments are putting a lot of regulations. It started with Monetary Authority of Singapore putting a Responsible AI Act. EU is putting an AI Act that will go live in 2026. White House has published a Bill of Rights for AI, and that will go on eventually. In India, Niti Aayog has also published guidelines for responsible AI. So when you look at all these regulations, the major challenges you see is how you develop a responsible and ethical AI model that should be transparent. You should be able to track the decision making, fair, unbiased, no discrimination against each other. The other important component there is AI model should consider the trust, privacy of an individual, and that should protect the fundamental human rights and societal values. So no discrimination against anyone. Next is AI model validation and governance. Now, this is another interesting part, and they are linked with each other a little bit, because AI is the black box. You give data and it generates the outcome. You don't know if it is an unsupervised model, you don't know which patterns are they analyzing, which patterns are they identifying, and then based on that, how they're extrapolating. So AI model validation creates a lot of challenges about how you identify the black box, how you identify, how you decode the black box, how you identify the pattern, is it transparent enough, what is the governance that you are putting on it. New regulation requires human in the loop or human-centric design depending on different regulations. So how you put human inside the AI model validation, what are the controls that you put on the AI model so that it doesn't go out, how you create a feedback loop. So if you put a control and if you make a change in AI model outcome, how you put that feedback back into the input so it will be considered for the next cycle. There's something also important about the data labeling. If it is an unsupervised model, you look into 100 different parameters, and sometimes it risk rate different parameters differently. Let's take an example of ethnicity. And if it combines ethnicity, certain neighborhoods in Brooklyn, it combined the ethnicity with the household income. And that completely went against the societal values. So how you should be putting a check on what is the data attribute and what are the risk levels you are putting on the data attribute. But even more importantly, what are the data attributes you should not be using for AI pattern development. So personal attributes like ethnicity, you shouldn't be using at all for the AI model validation. And that also comes, and because it's AI, system keeps updating every time. So ongoing monitoring is another important aspect. So you validate the model and you go ahead. But then if that model changes after 3 months, 6 months, what is the thing you're going to do? So you need to put some controls that check model on the ongoing basis. So these are the two major challenges that banks are facing in the AI model governance, I would say. There is one thing that is clearly bothering banks at this time. There is no clear regulatory guidance on this. The small, like Singapore has big economy, so they have regulatory guidance, but EU and America are substantial economies in the world, and they don't have enforcing regulatory guideline that requires banks to do certain things in a certain way. Hopefully 2026, when AI Act is live, we should be seeing this responsible AI model validation and development coming live for banks soon. So EU AI Act, it's still being drafted. It's work from the parliamentary committee in EU. And it is defining AI in three significant criteria. First is uh, if that system is operating with the autonomy. So it should not be a rule-based system. Because then it becomes the automated system, or it is similar to what is mechatronics doing. But it should be a system operating with the certain autonomy. It should generate some predictions based outputs. And third, the decisions that is making should be influencing the environment or everyone. So if the system falls into these three categories, then the system will be identified as AI under EU AI Act. Now, based on this EU AI Act, it requires some certain level of governance and controls that requires human oversight on high-risk AI models. It also speaks about a lot of cybersecurity, data governance, accuracy, and transparency, because when you look at the EU segment, it also has the GDPR. So when you draft a new regulation, it should not be intersecting, but it should be complementing to the existing regulation. So it also speaks about data governance policy. So it is I would say, more of a comprehensive regulation. Mass monetary of Singapore's regulation is more focused on financial institutions, but this EU AI Act will be covering everything. So it's not only banks, but look at your Facebook models, look at your Instagram models. So it will be also impacting those. However, when I look at this, there's a bigger challenge to that. Facebook, Instagram, based out of California. Right. How you would implement an EU AI Act, or how would you make EU AI Act to govern these models that are developed in California but impacting the people who are living in EU? Because someone developing this EU AI Act based out of EU model is being developed in San Francisco, California. How can they consider the local culture, societal values when they develop the models? It's as simple as that. Your family's values are different, your systems are different, your language is different, your how much time you spend out playing with your friends is different. So these things are different across different part of the world. My professor always say one thing: your laws are reflection of your local culture. And the simple example is, EU has abolished the capital punishment, while most of the part of the world, capital punishment is still there. So, and you take that simplistic example and apply to the AI Act. It makes more difficult because capital punishment will be people who are living in EU, but while the digital technology is across the borders. So it's a little bit difficult. Now, when you also, the other part government should be looking at is something I mentioned, how the existing law should be complementary to the new law that is coming in and should not be intersecting. Then what are the governance mechanism for things that we have not considered at all? Drones. Amazon is starting to use these drones for delivery purpose. Tesla is using autonomous driving, but we have seen a few examples where Tesla autonomous driver car crashed in California. So there are also good examples where Tesla autonomous driving detected a driver was not feeling well. It took car outside and called 911. But at the same time, autonomous driver crashed into a tree. So there should be a governance mechanism on this. So the government should consider not only AI is not only this digital technology used in bank and Amazon and Facebook, Instagram, but it should also look into the larger aspect of what are the other things that will impact society in the future. So I'm also a student of history, political science, and geopolitics. So I enjoy answering these questions. When you look at the leading question, it's kind of an interpretive question. And when you look at the Eastern lens versus Western lens, it's a different theory. And that comes to my previous point, where how you develop the laws which are aligned to your culture. That goes back to many different areas, even in the climate change, even in the flood management. The Eastern way to look at it is how we take a combined approach and holistic approach to look at things, while Western approach is a little bit different. It's more focused on how much funding you get, how much research are you going to do, and how many patents are going to be on your name. And that reflects on when you look into Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Amazon, their AI models. So these There is an interpretive question, but when you look at the American population, it's only 350 million, while the eastern part, where India and China combines more than 35% of the world population. When these AI Act are considered, or then these 30% of the population and the Africa's population, which is around also 20% of the world population, is kind of neglected in this regulatory domain. Now, so if I want to look into the funding part, because that drives the research, then that drives the number of patents achieved, that drives the tangible outcome coming out of research, then definitely America is leading the race. But then there should be a comprehensive approach. So it should be not the race, but it should be how we take a holistic approach towards the progress of entire mankind. So it's not only drones again, but it's also the vaccine creation, how AI can be used in the vaccine development and accelerate the speed that will help that will increase the speed of healthcare and medical supply to the world. There is something that bothering me for a long time, and that came from recent incidences happened across Middle East. How AI plays a significant role in autonomous weapons. Can you use AI in autonomous weapons, and how you control the weapons making their own decisions? So not the drones that are delivering, but drones that are making the bombing, or the autonomous rifles, how you make the right decisions for them. So there is need of strict governance around that. Other than that, I don't see a major challenge or in the geopolitics with respect to AI. Technology is to make our life easier. So AI is definitely doing that, right? So you don't have to go to a store. Amazon is delivering stuff to you. AI in the medical, increasing the human life expectancy. Therapies for life-threatening diseases is also easier. The large language model programs, that is a new category coming into the market. There needs to be more research done on that. But something that clearly says that these models are bringing AI closer to masses. Earlier, AI was limited, or AI model development was limited to someone who is sitting in the research lab or a big corporate. But now, people like you and me, or someone like a student, he can also use ChatGPT to get answers for his questions. But that triggers to a different topic, where excessive use of AI, is it good or bad? Why? My aptitude is developed in a certain way because I grew up doing math more. Someone's aptitudes were developed in a different way because he grew up studying social sciences in a different manner. Someone doing art, as in physical art, more manner, right? Different manner. And in a society, you need everything. Now, if you start using AI to do the computing and making a real life decision, then you are really impacting people who are doing the qualitative work and quantitative work at the same time. If you start applying that to schooling, school education system, that impacts students' aptitude or the aptitude development process. Now, kids who are in school now, they are going to be citizens or the decision makers and lawmakers in next 25, 30 years. If they're going to be decision maker 35 years and their aptitude is completely different, then we really have to think where society will go from which is now after 30 years. So that is something we need to think about, how we maintain the right balance of society's aptitude with the help of AI. Either we improve it for the better, but definitely not to lower it. And last thing is, we have seen in sci-fi movies where robots are making robots. Now you see these low-code, no-code models. You just give some instruction, it creates a code. So it's basically a robot. So robot is creating another robot, and that creates another code. Hopefully that won't create another human robot that will start thinking by itself. And that will, in the future, might also have a collective intelligence for the robot community that might. And then there is a Darwin's theory of survival of the fittest, where you might end up in a I'm just exaggerating, but we have seen this in sci-fi movies where Darwin's theory where it gets applied to robots in the world. So we don't want to be living in that situation. So we should develop some right controls and human in the loop design for these AI models. They can reach out to me on my email ID, kiranmuthal@gmail.com. Alternatively, I'm active on LinkedIn and Twitter. So I'm providing both my links here, and feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or Twitter. I'm open for any speaking engagements on these or regulatory topics.